JPMorgan is bearish on Bitcoin big time. Bitcoin's price is down. We need to dive into rate cuts. A whale just bought 8,674 Bitcoin for 323 million. A little bit of money there. Inflation, obviously we need to dive into the lie of that. The debt default cycle has already started and the WEF is promoting their next crisis. Let's jump straight into it here. Justin, spot Bitcoin ETF could put severe downward pressure on Bitcoin price, according to JPMorgan. Obviously, we're against JPMorgan. They are the largest shareholder of the Federal Reserve Bank. So I've been thinking about this. I was wondering with JPMorgan if they haven't put in a Bitcoin ETF application yet, have the Fed put pressure on them, or do they not want to see the collapse of their dirty fiat Ponzi scheme that they've been propping up? So JPMorgan, a spot Bitcoin ETF could put severe downward pressure on Bitcoin price. There's actually a bit of a bullish statement in here. Global investment bank JPMorgan has cautioned that the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs by the US SEC could put severe downward pressure on the Bitcoin price. The bank's analysts estimate that billions of dollars could exit the crypto market after Grayscale Investment converts its Bitcoin trust into a spot Bitcoin ETF. Obviously, yesterday we dove into Cathie Wood offloading GBTC as well. That created a little bit of FUD in the community. While emphasizing his belief in the imminent approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs by the SEC, so the bank JPMorgan, the analyst, still believes that it is going to happen. He cautioned that client discussions are centered on the potential capital outflow from the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, as it transitions into a Bitcoin ETF. The argument being that a significant amount of GBTC shares has been bought in the secondary market this year at a deep discount, as high as like 40 or 50% to NAV, in anticipation of its conversion to an ETF, and these speculative investors would take profit once GBTC gets converted to an ETF. More likely true than false, and the discount to NAV gets arbitraged away. We estimate that around $2.7 billion could come out of GBTC, JPMorgan predicted. In terms of market impact, if this 2.7 bill exits completely the Bitcoin space, and such an outflow would of course put severe downward pressure on Bitcoin prices. If instead most of this 2.7 billion shifts into other Bitcoin instruments, such as the newly created spot Bitcoin ETFs post SEC approval, which is our best guess, then any negative market impact would be more modest. So they're both bearish and bullish in the same article. We will see what happens. Good morning to everyone watching. If you can do us a massive favor, smash the like button, humiliate the like button. It will get this video out while we are live to more people. Eyes on the Bitcoin signal. Now, since Halloween, particular Bitcoin addresses amassed 8,674 Bitcoin, equivalent to $323 million. Moreover, they've consistently added 1,000 plus Bitcoin to their holdings for the past 3 consecutive days. Well done to them. Balance 8,674. Stacking sats hardcore. And yet we have clowns contemplating getting off zero. The shift in generational wealth is going to hit like a tsunami. That's something I was thinking about last night. Are you a watcher of this channel and you don't hold any Bitcoin? If you are, I'm not talking about the people that held Bitcoin and lost it in a boating accident and stuff. I know there's many people that no longer hold their Bitcoin out there. But if you're a watcher of this channel and you are on zero, please let me know why. It makes absolutely 0 sense to me. Completely confusing. Really quickly, before we dive more into GBTC, sponsor of today's video, Bitcoin Evangelism. If you haven't read the book yet, the link is below. Absolutely fantastic. I just want to bring up a really quick quote out of it, because we can either read the books or eat the bugs. Providing a public service for the good of all citizens of the world is not a globalist ideology. It's a remedy to help the average person become resistant to encroaching globalist policies. Not only is this public service providing an equal opportunity to everyone for the purposes of banking the unbanked, but it also provides public protection of an individual's property and thus makes the American dream a reality in keeping with the essence of John Locke's influence of life, liberty, and property, not just for Americans, but for individuals young and old, rich and poor around the world. That is the promise of Bitcoin there. So, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, see outflows 2.7 billion. If that happens, maybe that's a bloody good opportunity to buy the dip. Obviously, yesterday we dove into it, but ARK Invest has offloaded or sold 5 mil worth of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust last week. Sales took place as the discount for Grayscale's Bitcoin investment vehicle narrowed to its lowest in over 2 years, sign of escalating optimism that a spot Bitcoin ETF will finally be approved in the US. Kathy Wood, very intelligent woman, well ahead of the curve. She knows something is going on. Maybe she's just taking profits. Maybe they bought them a lot earlier, or maybe they no longer want to hold the competition. Sam Callahan, follow this gentleman on Twitter. Absolutely phenomenal what he puts out. Bloomberg shared some evidence of the cost of living crisis many Americans face today. Obviously, Bitcoin is the long-term hedge against inflation. Since 2020, groceries up 25%, home values 42%, electricity 25%, natural gas 29%, rent 20%, used cars 35%, car insurance 33%, childcare 32%, food at restaurants, chicken dishes 32%, burgers 23%, pastas 14%, 17%. Meanwhile, instead of addressing the problem, the government is worsening it and choosing to gaslight the public by saying this Thanksgiving was the 4th cheapest ever. Was it? Truly. Don't know about that. Happy Thanksgiving for everyone as well. I will dive into the comments shortly. If you are live, definitely humiliate that like button for us. Dylan Murray, RBA, Reserve Bank of Australia's own data shows the inflation rate of the broad money supply over the last 20 plus years has only briefly been below 5%, with an average closer to 10%. Yet they target a 2% CPI, the basket of things that are cheapest to produce and are the bare minimums to keep you alive. The house of cards is crumbling. Block height here, we are looking at 818,745, 5:50 a.m. Exchange USD for BTC 36,892 sats per US dollar, 2,711. That difficulty shot up a massive 5%. It looks like it's going to come down 3.2% in the next 20, down 4.4% December 11 there. We'll see. Went up a lot. A lot came online and the blocks are very much slowing down. Last block reward 6.8672. The fees only made up 9% there, and the halving estimated April 23, 2024 was April 25th. They are speeding up. We are getting closer and closer to the Bitcoin halving. Javier Malay, the state does not create wealth. The state destroys it. The state can give you nothing because it produces nothing. A lot of people are either for or against him. I like him. I like the potential and the possibility of what this guy can do to enact change. Kibesi letter. Default cycle has already started in the US, I'd say everywhere around the world, or First World nations. Since the Fed started raising rates in March 2022, default rates have gone from 1 to 5+%. High yield and leverage loans will continue to see rising default rates as the Fed holds rates higher for longer. Here's where it gets interesting. Total employment of companies in the high yield index is 11 mil, and total employment of companies in the leverage loans index is 8 million. Rising corporate defaults will soon result in significantly higher unemployment. Mass layoffs are likely in 2024. Not good news for the economy. And then we need to dive into this Bank of International Settlements, and then we're going to dive into the World Economic Forum here. It's no longer a conspiracy theory, ladies and gentlemen. The reason I bring this up is this is the reason We buy Bitcoin, we stack Bitcoin, we hold it on something other than paper. You can use something like $11 or Cedar, which is the Rolls Royce. Get it off paper. Generational wealth, and they're going to start coming for it sooner rather than later. Augustin, General Manager of the Bank for International Settlements, the central bank of central banks, admits that CBDCs will grant central bankers absolute control over how it can be used and the technology to be able to essentially enforce that. Not up to date with your injections, exceeded your weekly carbon allowance, have ventured outside of your designated 15-minute district. Oh, no money for you. We'll go full screen.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Crazy, hey? So that's Wide Awake media there. It's not only about trying to prolong the collapse of their fiat Ponzi scheme, but as they stated very clearly, it's about control. They want to know what you're doing, where you're spending your money on. They want to be able to turn it on. They don't, well, it'll be on by default. They want to be able to turn it off, and they want to be able to force you to eat the bugs. Another good reason to be able to study Bitcoin. Read the books or eat the bugs. Now, the future of fiat currencies, as central bank digital currencies, they require a digital ID rollout first. Then your currency will have rules programmed into it. The more fear government inflict, the more rules will be programmed into your CBDC. Be prepared. This is pretty scary. They're predicting 2020 all over again if you listen subtly. They're saying the quiet part out loud. So Tony Blair at the WEF states we need digital ID, digital infrastructure, because you need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been vaccinated. Listen and read between the lines, and good morning to everyone in the chat.
I also think this issue to do with the technology and the digital infrastructure, I just want to emphasize how important I think that is. Because in the end, you need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure. And many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
All right, most countries don't need it or don't want it. Definitely everyone around the world most likely does not want it. Good morning to everyone in the chat that is joining us. Absolutely crazy. Multiple vaccines, multiple mandates, total control. Between those two videos there, this guy, you can definitely see he's getting all his protein from the bugs. Very healthy individual. It's a shame you see this. If there's a fit, strong, able person body in this person, that had more credibility, but something's gone wrong here, in my opinion. Tony Blair's at least looked after himself health-wise. Still don't like the words coming out of his mouth, so I guess that point is mute there. Fed likely to be the most dovish central bank in 2024, research shows. Good news for Bitcoin. This is when we start going to the moon. Everything is aligning. This time is different. We keep saying they're the most dangerous words that you can say within finance, full stop. But this cycle is different this time. The outcome, we'll see. Do we go up and never come back down? Probably not. There are going to be corrections. $10,000, $20,000 candles. just going to wake up and it's just going to absolutely melt faces to the up and the downside. But the Fed likely to be the most dovish central bank in 2024. Traders expect the Fed to cut rates by 100 basis points next year, weakening the dollar, incentivizing risk-taking in crypto and traditional markets. Anyone in crypto is taking risks, but we can replace that with liquidity going into Bitcoin there. Obviously, that aligns with the US presidential election, the halving, the Bitcoin, BlackRock, ETF. Be interesting to see what JPMorgan does. JPMorgan, on a side note, is one of the biggest holders in both Ethereum and Solana and potentially XRP. Don't quote me on XRP. Fact check me. That'd be great to know in regards to that. But we need to watch what they're doing. XRP, Ethereum, Solana, none of them are good for your freedom. Be aware if you think it's a good idea to get into it. It's not for your freedom. Anyway, if there is one thing that both crypto and traditional markets love unconditionally, it is cheap fiat liquidity. The US Fed, world's most powerful central bank, is likely to take steps in that direction next year. According to ING, US economy and the inflation rate are expected to slow next year, allowing the Fed to pursue a looser monetary policy. Inflation rate are expected to slow, and then we go back to Sam Callahan's tweets here. It doesn't look like it's slowing, but they change what they report on because it's the fourth cheapest Thanksgiving ever. So maybe it does slow down next year. They just put out whatever propaganda they're inclined to lead the economy in whatever direction. The rich get richer through the quintillion effect. Obviously, Javier Milei is articulating that really well. But a weaker dollar, they feel like they are doctors. They're fixing the problem. They're really not. It's like giving you a prescription medication that maybe it takes the pain away in the short term, does nothing long term. Anyway, often becomes a tailwind to risk assets, including Bitcoin, as occurred in the second half of 2020 and early 2021. Greenback is a global reserve currency playing an outsized role in global trade and non-bank borrowing. When the dollar strengthens, it causes financial tightening worldwide, disincentivizing risk-taking. The opposite is true when it weakens. If we have a look at the CME FedWatch tool, 15 days, 22 hours, 59 minutes and 14 seconds. To say it come down to 96.4%. We are at 96.8%. I'll take it. Very much looks like there will be a pause, do nothing. Maybe we get a few pauses. They keep it up, put a little bit of pressure, further pressure on the population before they start lowering it off to the races there. It's amazing how they control these things. Does anybody know Lark Davis? Used to be called Crypto Lark. Covers both Bitcoin and altcoin. Really respect his opinions on Bitcoin. I'll be interviewing him later. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section, not in the live chat, for him in regards to Bitcoin, because that's what we'll be talking about. This is a Bitcoin show. The podcast is Bitcoin only. A fascinating guy, somebody that I admire and respect in regards to his Bitcoin information. Articulates crypto really well, but I'm just not interested. If you have any questions, and if you can do us a favor, hitting the subscribe button gets this content out to more people, and we'll keep you up to date with the news, with the fast facts. Thank you. Thanks heaps. Now, this is why I don't like crypto. This is why I'm so dead against it. Hex founder and alleged fraudster, Richard Hart, we're not calling him a fraudster, is hiding from the US SEC. Rumors he recently fled from Finland to Russia. I did retweet something about it. This guy is absolutely ridiculous, absolutely insane, absolutely insane. Andy Surfer, he covers a lot of altcoins. Absolutely he does, but we will just be dialing deep down into Bitcoin because at heart, he is a true Bitcoiner. Maybe not a true Bitcoiner, but because he's dabbling in altcoins, he does cover a lot. But we will be focusing in on Bitcoin. It's the opinion that I want to get out of him, and he's got a lot of insights to gain from that. Market cap, $1.46 trillion. Come on, let's start moving it. We did tap 38,000 the other day, and we have come back down. It's looking cheap at the moment, or it will be cheap. You just need to zoom out. 369.69, number of the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Last 24 hours, though, 37,748. We got pretty close, but we do need to break above and hold above 38,000. In the last 24 hours, low 36,770. Obviously, we're just a little bit higher than the low in the last 24 hours. A little bit of a red everywhere. Doge, obviously, Elon's sending it there. But Bitcoin, the big daddy, the only one that matters. And if you haven't seen this video, Luke Mikic is another Aussie, and it's a lot of fun. This video is a lot of fun. A lot of people get caught up in the 64 million, 65 million. It could have been 69 million, would have been a better number, Luke. But that's a really, really fun interview if you are looking for a little bit of a podcast to join today. Just want to dive through into your comments there. If you have any, drop them below. And if you can, one more time, I'll ask you to Wow. Yes, it's early. Humiliate the like button at 6:04 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. Did not sleep very well last night, but I always will show up for you with the news for the fast facts. So, Darth, wouldn't bother for me, Bitcoin to dip hard again so I can DCA harder. That's the greatest thing about Bitcoin when we have these red days. Red days are for stacking. The bigger the red day, the bigger the stack. It's amazing when you're in Bitcoin for a while. Absolutely love it. Within crypto, if you see a red day, you're like, oh my God, this is gone a zero. Like Hex has gone. 99% of its value wiped out. Within Bitcoin, dip. I see them as buy, not financial advice, but they're always a good opportunity. G'day, and Boss TF, good to see you. Andy Surfer, morning, g'day, good to see you. Local Loop, good to see you too. Local Loop, I won't dox you at all, but interesting, really interesting, massive, large-scale Bitcoin mining project. John H, good day. John H, is that John Ha? Let us know. Skins, good morning. TF, yeah, seen him before. In regards to Lark Davis, covers a lot of altcoin stuff. We dive into that. I will be drilling down on the Bitcoin only, ladies and gentlemen. I watch the shitcoin pushes for the Bitcoin content only. Fair. And me too, occasionally. Andy Surfer, lol, Croc, good to see you as well. The like has been humbled. That's nicer. That, humble the like button. I like that. We'll, how about we go with that? Let's humble the like button instead of humiliate. This is mainly a family-friendly channel. I've been very well at not swearing lately. Unless we're talking about shitcoins. Stay away from shitcoins. I'm even doing good with not using that word. It's one of my favorite words. I believe it really emphasizes how garbage altcoins are. And I use it when I'm excited because I know I'm in the world's hardest asset. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that Luke Mikic video is very good. I'd encourage everyone, if you haven't, read the book, Bitcoin Evangelism. Thanks very much, Brian. And see you over on Twitter at Sean Clark 911. Any questions for Lark, drop them in the comments. Have a very beautiful day. Go out, touch some grass, not your neighbor's grass. Get that sun in your eyes. Be blessed. Peace.